Hey y'all, thank you so much for watching my channel. Welcome to your Friday 5's. Here are 5 persons that are no longer nameless. So 5 Jane and John Does who now have their names back. On the morning of November 10th, 1979, a farmer in Caledonia, New York, saw a piece of red clothing in one of his cornfields near the Genesee River, about 20 feet from the south side of U.S. Route 20. Upon investigating, he thought that he had spotted a trespassing hunter. Instead, in the field, he located the body of a young girl. She was later named the Caledonia Jane Doe or the Cali Jane Doe by investigators. She was the victim of homicide by gunshot. The first shot was to her head and on the road bordering the cornfield where there was a swat of blood found on the ground. She was then dragged into the cornfield and shot again in the back. Heavy rains on the night of her death would wash away any potential forensic evidence. She was originally believed to be around 13 to 18 years old. Other than her white 32C bra and blue panties, all of the other clothing worn by the victim were for men or boys. She wore a small silver necklace with 3 small turquoise stones that had been handmade in appearance and was a replica of Native American jewelry. The pockets of the pants were found inside out, indicating if she had any identification on her, it had been taken from her. Due to the tan lines on her upper body, authorities believe she originally came from a warmer climate. The Caledonia Jane Doe would go unidentified for over 35 years. In 2014, a woman was on the hunt for her classmate from Brooksville, Florida. Through her efforts, she found a half-sister, Pamela Dyson of Panama City. Dyson recalls her older sister running away a lot. Dyson suspected her sister had become a victim of foul play, since nobody had seen her since the late 1970s. In August 2014, Dyson's sister was finally added to the Nameless system. Upon being entered into the Nameless system, her case was shared on a website called websleuths.com. The site is moderated by Carl Kopelman, who is a California artist that reconstructs unidentified corpses. Carl had sketched the Caledonia Jane Doe in 2010 and immediately recognized her face. He then contacted the Livingston County Sheriff's Department, Nameless, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children with the tip. In January of 2015, through mitochondrial DNA, the victim was finally identified as Tammy Jo Alexander. Tammy Jo was a waitress at her family's restaurant on a busy highway that was frequented by many truck drivers. It is believed that Tammy Jo had hitchhiked with a male that had eaten at the restaurant previously. A few hours before her death, she had been seen by a waitress in the New York area eating with a man. The man is described as 5 feet 8 inches tall, driving a tan station wagon and wearing black wide-rimmed glasses. He's been stated as a person of interest and police seek his identity. In 1984, before Tammy Jo Alexander was identified, Henry Lee Lucas confessed to her murder. However, he could not identify her. Investigators found no sufficient evidence to support his confession. If you have any information regarding Tammy Jo Alexander's case, please contact the FBI. The number is listed below. At 6:40 a.m. on the morning of September the 20th, 1987, joggers discovered the body of a young woman at the base of a cliff at Dana Point, California. When investigators arrived on the scene, they discovered at the top of the cliff a half-consumed can of Coca-Cola, a purse containing a small amount of change, a packet of cigarettes, matches, and 2 maps of Southern California. On the back of one of these maps was written the number to a local taxi company. There were other notations on the map indicating that she had asked several persons for directions. She was wearing a tan dress, men's underwear, and turquoise-colored canvas shoes, all of which were believed to be either second-hand clothing or hand-me-down. From the evidence collected at the scene, investigators believe that the woman had climbed the fence at the edge of the cliff and deliberately jumped to her death. Her death was ruled a suicide. Other theories include that she had possibly been pushed from the cliff or had accidentally fallen. She had initially survived the fall and moved somewhat before her death, leaving the impression similar to that of a snow angel. She would now become known as the Dana Point Jane Doe. She was believed to have been around the ages of 18 to 23 years old. She wore a tan dress, men's underwear, and turquoise-colored canvas shoes, all of which were believed to be either second-hand clothing or hand-me-downs. She had no distinctive tattoos, birthmarks, or scars. She had brown eyes and strawberry blonde to light brown hair that was long, reaching the middle of her back. Investigators contacted the number written on the top of the map found at the cliff. They were able to speak with the driver, who stated that he had given the woman a ride previously, as she had fit the description of the deceased woman. He stated he picked her up sometime between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. on September the 20th. The woman asked to be picked up from a local gas station in Mission Viejo in southern Orange County. She requested to be driven to Laguna Beach or as far as the $18 in her possession would take her. He said that he had dropped her off at the cart house at the intersection of Cove Road and Scenic Drive, and that he last saw her walking in the direction of the cliff where her body had been found. According to the taxi driver, she had informed him that her car had broken down close to the gas station in which he picked her up at. The driver states she didn't communicate very much throughout the taxi ride, and that her overall demeanor seemed very unhappy. Investigators confirmed that she had used the restroom where the taxi driver had previously picked her up. She had also been to a local Hampton Inn hotel, asking if there were any upscale hotels in the location. In 2014, a group of friends from Whitner, California, became concerned when they saw the profile for the Dana Point Jane Doe. They had tried to contact their friend through conventional means such as social media, but could not get a hold of her. They enlisted the help of the Facebook page Help ID Me, expressing their concerns and suspicions that their friend was, in fact, the Dana Point Jane Doe. In May of 2015, the Dana Point Jane Doe was formally identified as Holly Jo Glenn. She was identified after the Orange County Sheriff's Department, the Coroner's Division, contacted her surviving relatives, obtaining DNA samples for comparison. The Dana Point Jane Doe remained unidentified for 28 years. Months prior to her death, her family had tried to get her committed to a psychiatric hospital. Some speculate this is why the suicide is considered. However, some still believe that she was pushed and foul play is involved. On April the 28th, 2001, the body of a young child was found near Hibbs Park at 59th Street and Kingston Avenue in Kansas City, Missouri. The young girl's head was found on May 1st, 2001, approximately 150 to 200 yards southeast of where the body was recovered. It was determined that she had been beaten with an ashtray, which was found with the body, but lacked DNA or fingerprints, and had been kicked several times, causing brutal injuries all over her body. Autopsy reports showed that the girl was alive at the time she was decapitated. She had been given the nickname Precious Doe. Nearly 4 years later, on May 5th, 2005, Precious Doe was identified as 3-year-old Erica Green. Her mother, Michelle, and stepfather, Harold Johnson, were charged with her murder and extradited from Oklahoma to face charges in Missouri. Michelle Johnson's 8 other children were taken into state custody or placed with relatives. On December 3, 2005, prosecutors announced that they would seek the death penalty against Erica's stepfather, Harold Johnson. Police said that Erica died when Harold Johnson used hedge clippers to sever her head. Johnson's cousin said that Erica's mother helped Harold dispose of Erica's body by taking her out of the house as if she were sleeping in a stroller. She told the cousin that she was giving Erica to a woman to help raise her while Johnson was in prison. On October the 8th of 2008, Harold Johnson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. On October the 22nd, 2008, Michelle Johnson was sentenced to 25 years in prison in exchange for her 2007 guilty plea to second-degree murder and the testimony against her husband. On December 30th, 1985, 3 sets of remains were found at a cemetery in North Seattle, Washington. 27 years after the remains were found, one set were identified as Sandra Denise Major. She was not identified until June of 2012 after a family member had asked the Kings County Sheriff's Department to investigate after watching a TV movie about Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. DNA confirmed Major's identity. Majors disappeared December the 24th, 1982, and was last seen getting into a truck in the North Seattle, Washington area. In the early morning hours of June the 9th, 1973, a teenage girl was seen arguing with a man at the intersection of 11th Avenue South and 8th Street in South Pittsburgh, Florida. The man was seen shoving her into the path of a moving vehicle. She died at the scene. The victim appeared to be between 14 and 16 years old, but may have been as young as 11 or as old as 20. Her hair was wavy, auburn, and shoulder length. Her eyes were noted as a unique shade of blue. She had noticeably short fingernails that were consistent with nail biting. Other distinctive features were 3 birthmarks on her back, a chipped tooth with no visible dental work being done, and freckles on her shoulders. It is possible that her tooth was chipped when she was struck by the vehicle. She also had 2 pierced ears. It was strongly believed that she was a runaway. She had spoken with police officers shortly before her death. The officers believed that she was not the person whom they were trying to locate at the time. She had given various alias names during previous confrontations, using her birth name as well as the first names Cindy and Maria and the last name of Bromike. It was suspected that she was involved in the illegal drug trade, and that may have been the reason for her murder. The man that she was with was arrested and charged for murder. However, the charges were later dropped and the criminal case was closed due to police being unable to prove the intent. On May the 20th, 2015, nearly 42 years after she died, Janice Marie Young was identified. Her younger brother, Timothy Young, had been reportedly searching for her for decades. He had been using her adoptive name Young when making his searches. He made an internet search using Janice's birth name Brock and found a police sketch of the victim that bore a strong resemblance to Janice. The 2 siblings had lived in foster care after being taken from custody of their parents. Their family name changed from Brock to Young after they were legally adopted in 1969. Janice had run away from her adoptive parents' home in Newport News, Virginia, after being raped by an adoptive brother. Her brother had witnessed the rape. She told her brother of her intention of running away. She packed a pillowcase with her belongings and left home. This was the last time he would see her alive. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you have not already. And I will catch you guys on my next video.